What is up, y'all? Time to do another video. I'm gonna do something more basic today, not so complex with coding and programming or methodologies. I'm just gonna do a simple video of just playing with some models and doing some lighting and rendering. So, that being said, I'm going to look at this chess set right here off of Polyhaven. Um, Recent person just reminded me about Polyhaven having a lot of different models and access to free models. So, yeah, my first time on here, actually downloading something. I've always known about this site, but never really used stuff off of it. So let's get into it. I'm gonna kick off a project. Start this off. And we're gonna call it chess set. So quickly create a project. I think I showed you guys this tool here that just creates projects for me. So I just want to start from the beginning just to show and display my whole process of going through projects the way I like to do them. So, okay, it's just creating the whole project for me. That's what we're waiting on right now. It looks like it's done. All right, cool. So I got my chess set project. It's ready to go. And then I'm also going to bring the asset over. So go here, downloads, chess. There we go. Put it in the docs, correspondence, and then we can bring it over there. I'll relocate to that folder. Boom. And then we can expand it. Also make a new folder for today. That's the way I like to stay organized too. Move this chess to that folder. And then we can get in here and then expand. Let's see. Expand the archive, chess, and then get all the files. So let's see what we got in here. All right, so we just got a simple Blender file, and then also have some textures too, a couple textures. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna copy the path to this Blender file, and then I'm gonna switch over to Blender, and then we're gonna link this in. Let's append it. See what we got here. Okay, so let's see what's here. If we go like this collection, okay, so there's a chess set. We'll just append it to my file. All right, so we got the chess set now. Cool. Got this file in. Let's take a quick look. Material preview. Let's make sure the materials are connected too. It's loading up the materials. Oh my gosh, it's taking a little bit of time this time. Come on, you can do it. All right, there we go. All right, so the materials are connected. Just wanted to make sure they're all linked up. Oh, he's got some pretty nice materials too. Has a lot of texture to it already, so we don't need to mess with these much. So we're just probably going to just do like a lighting exercise. All right, and then probably also we're gonna do put this on a pedestal. So I was like thinking of like putting this element on a pedestal. So let's get started with that. So I'm going to take all of this. So we're going to, again, stay pretty organized the way I'm going to do my project. Copy this, and then I'm going to go back to the root of my project folder. And then I'm going to go into the Blender folder. So I'm going to sort down to the Blender folder, and I want to put this in, I think we're going to do it in the fixtures folder. Yeah, so let's do that. We'll put it in the fixtures folder. Boom. And we'll switch back to the Blender. And then I'm going to open file. So we're going to go here. Boom. Paste this in there. Got that. Cool. And then we're going to create a cube. Already a pretty decent size. Snap to the bottom. Zoom in a little bit so make sure we got things right. Okay, so let's snap to those feet. There we go. If you guys don't know about snapping, that's how you do it. You press the G key, press B, and you're in snap mode, and you can snap stuff. Really handy to move stuff around quickly. All right, so I'm gonna extend this base down just a little bit too, and then that's how we're gonna set it. Cool. And then I'm thinking about linking everything together. So maybe I'll just link it to the base. So everything can be linked to the base of this. Make sure I don't have anything else. Okay. So I'm gonna press Control P and then I'm gonna parent everything to the base. So if I move this, it's all parented now. And then I'm also going to take this and bevel it. So I'm gonna select everything and just bevel it a little bit. Oh, too much. Roll the mouse up. And then we're just gonna do some subtle beveling like that. Okay, cool. So we wanted a nice like smooth rounded edges. And then I'm gonna hit Shade Auto Smooth. Collapse that by pressing Control A. Done. And then close all this out. And then I'm gonna take the whole chess set, organize my stuff, put it in the proper here and fixtures, and then that's done. Okay, so now that that's set, we can add a quick material to it. I might do like a concrete. I have some concrete already in my library. Oh my gosh, this is like taking forever to load these materials. I shouldn't have done that again. That's a pet peeve of mine in Blender. Sometimes it's like the materials can take a long time to load when you set it to material setting. All right, so I'm gonna get a concrete material. So I got something preset already. Concrete clean, concrete. Let's try this one. Throw that on there. Hopefully we got it. Okay, so let's switch back to production. So again, okay, so yeah, got a nice concrete material there. Probably needs to be worked on more, but I'm just gonna go with what I have. Yeah, I've already done some settings to this concrete. You can already see like the roughness map on it and bump. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna go to adding an additional window here and then set this to UV editor. Open this up, select everything. It's already laid out pretty nice for this concrete. Let's try seeing what happens if I scale it up, maybe. Nah, it was already good. Probably don't need to mess with it. Maybe I'll rotate it 90 degrees. Move it up this way. Turn it around. Yeah. Yeah, we might be good with this material already. Or like how it's set up, I should say. All right, I'm gonna go back to what it just was. I'll just leave it there like that for now. Maybe we could scale it. Yeah, we'll just leave it. All right, we just get the shot going first, and then we can come back to that. So I'm gonna close this window back out. Cool. And then I can save this file like so. And then I'm gonna go into my next file. So I'm gonna go to my camera file. So we're gonna do this again. And then blend, cam, and then template. Yes. And then we're gonna switch to that. Load that up. So this is my camera file. Then we're gonna look through that through the look dev tab. All right, so let's start messing with this. So I got two options. Most times when I do my shots, I usually leave the camera and I'll move the product around. So I could do that where I could just kind of shift the product around to the way I want it. And I'm thinking about doing some kind of shot that's kind of dynamic. I don't want to see the whole base or anything. So I can kind of just play with this in camera. Make something kind of dynamic. Yeah, let's see, that's cool. Maybe rotate it. Let's try the Y like that. My lens, what is my lens set to? So my lens is set to 120. Okay. Keep playing with this. All right, so we'll go with something like this. Boom. Shift it. Nice, I like that. And then now I can play with, save that. And now we can go and play with some lighting. So I'm gonna switch to my light file. Again, here, light.blend. And then save this, open. And then here's my light file. Again, I can go to my camera view. Oh, you know what? I probably can't do that. Okay, so I probably have to change my camera because that's not going to work. I would have to change the source file. So Yeah, let's go back to here, fixtures. I have to play with this instead. Come on, load it up. You can do it. It's going to take a little bit of time to load up. I don't know why it's taking so much time. All right, so let's go to this, look dev, and then we can go here and play with it. Don't want to do that, but oh well. We're just messing around anyway. So we'll do something like that. Yeah. Kind of have a, maybe cropped out like that. Probably shift it back a little bit too. Yeah, there we go. I like that. That's a good one. All right, save that. Let's go to light now. And then we'll go to our look dev tab. Okay, so let's play with the lighting. Add an area light. That. Set this to render. And then rotate this. Oops, press T. Let's rotate that. Rotate just one notch. And then scale it up. Like that. Let's move the light source in. Yeah, there we go. And then we can play with a couple things here too. So, all right, let's see what we can do here in terms of lighting. I probably need to set up like a background too, but maybe I'll do that. So let's turn up our lights. Try 32. And then maybe we're going to add a bounce card. I'm going to try to make the light source bigger too, just see what happens. It's a little too soft. I like it a little bit harsh. I'm also going to set my color management to Khronos today. And then have that set. All right, so I'm going to set up the background too. So I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to go up into template, environment here. Then I'm going to set up a background. So we're going to go to the look dev tab, switch to the camera, shrink that, plane, and then move this back 90 degrees. And then we got a background, boom, just like that. Maybe move it back more so the lighting doesn't affect it too much. So we have separation of lighting happening. And let's render that. And then hit a new load up. Come on. All right, so it's loading up. Got that. And then let's turn on a material for this. So we're going to set this to emission. Where you at? Emission. There it is. Okay, so cool. And then also just to be congruent, set that to Khronos. Cool. And then I might want to turn down how strong this is. So like maybe let's do like a grayish color for now. Maybe we'll turn this into a gradient later, but we'll stick with some kind of tonal. So we'll save that. And then go back to the light file. We could play some more with the lighting. Cool. And then I'm gonna turn on some scrim too. I'm gonna turn up the feathering so that the fall off on the edges of the light is soft, like a light box. And then what else can we play with? Okay, so let's play with this. Let's come from like this direction too with the light. And then, you know what? I forgot that I used Light Wrangler. I'm gonna try let's see, right click, because I got Light Wrangler too, light operations, adjust light. There we go. So I can press 2 to set it to orbit mode too. So right now it's kind of like overhead. Yeah, I can highlight edges really nicely too. So if you guys remember in my old other videos, like I use Light Wrangler a lot to light stuff. Really handy tool. Love the tool. Every time I jump into Blender, I find a reason to use it because it's just so handy. But anyway, Yeah, so let's get back into lighting this. So I'm gonna brighten it. I'm gonna have the light come from opposite side of the camera. It's just more dramatic, I should say. And then yeah, let's turn this up a little bit more. See if we can have the shadows coming towards us a little bit more. Yeah, I want the shadows coming towards us. 2 overhead, lower, lower. All right, right here. Set that. Got that one. And then let's add a bounce cart. So I'm going to try a bounce cart first before I add another light. So a lot of times you can get away with minimal lights in shots like this. So I want this shot to be dramatic too on top of that. And another thing that's happening is my background's not showing because I did not add my background to the proper collection. So we're going to switch back to environment and then make sure this is just in the proper collection. Geo, like that. And then we should be good. And then we can switch back to light. And then we show up now. And then also I'm going to put this light in the proper collection too, which is here. Cool. So we got that going. And then let's get going with this bounce cart. Make this bigger. Make sure it's not cutting off the camera. Rotate that a little bit. Scale it up. Boom. Copy this. And then let's flip this around. Yep. All right. So it's getting a little too even for me. So I'm going to delete this one or maybe pull it back like that. It's a little too dark now. Let's bring it forward. Yeah. So now we got some shadow, but we can still see some information here. Cool. Got that. Maybe I want to wash some light across this surface right here too. So maybe I can delete this card and then add a new light in. So I'm going to right click again, light operations, add light. I could have pressed F9 too, but I'm not. So I want to wash the side of this surface like a gradient. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So let's turn the brightness of this down. It's way too strong. And I'm going to press 2 to orbit the light now. Yeah, so now we're getting that gradient. But I don't want it to be like necessary from below. Just kind of not perpendicular, but kind of parallel. Yeah, something like that. That's nice. So let's rotate it this direction a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with that. And then I need to give like these chess pieces some more definition so that we can actually read the elements that are sitting here. But I mean, it's cool and it's not cool at the same time because it just feels very cinematic, which I like. But a lot of things are kind of in black right now too. So one thing I could possibly do is like add a HDRI to the shot to kind of like take advantage of these reflective materials. So I could try playing with that too. All right, so let's go to my HDRI. So let's see what I could do. How can I jump to that? Yeah, let's jump to that. So I'm gonna just do this, start a new session, and let's see. Yep, there we go. And then let's go to world. Set this up. Environment texture. And then paste this in here. See what options we got. So we got our rooms. I'm gonna go to the mastering CGI one. Where's that one? I use this one a lot. This is a handy one. And I'm gonna go with the color one for now. Plug that in. Press Control T to use no wrangler so I can rotate this, have mapping options. And then I'll leave it like this for now. I'm gonna turn off my lights and then make sure we're just a little bit organized here too, just to ensure things are linking up right. If you wonder why I'm jumping around files, it's because I have everything linked up. I like to keep things separate so that when I scale out stuff, everything just stays organized as it grows. If I kind of jump into something bigger, but that's not happening. But I still like to use my system at the end of the day because I can just jump through it quickly. Okay, so next thing, let's turn up the feathering on this too. Um, and turn up the brightness. See light. I think we can go up to like 10 now on this one since we turn up the feathering. Yeah. All right. And let's look at this HDRI. So go to world, the ray visibility. So I want to turn off these lights first. So let's just see what it looks like with the HDRI. This is what it looks like. So this is the HDRI, you know, adding lighting to the shot. So I want to turn off the fuse. I want to turn off the camera, and I just want reflections. So that's what I want here is reflection information. So now that I got that, and I could kind of play with the intensity of it, right? Say 4, maybe it's too much. And then I can go back and turn my lights on to see how things look now, right? So now we're getting more definition in these chess pieces. And right now, as I've turned up the reflection amount, we can see that we're getting like what I call color contamination. And I can get rid of that by just having that other version of the HDRI, or I can add a node and make it black and white too. So I can go here and just turn the saturation all the way down. And then if I turn off my lights again, you know, I've gotten rid of that color that was happening. So if I turn this off, press M, you can see that there's color. And then I just desaturated the whole thing. But yet I'm keeping reflection information hitting these objects. So that's there. And now we're getting a lot more information on how to read these items. So another thing I could do is probably like rotate the HDRI to see how the reflection happens differently at different angles. So that's what I'm doing now. 270. So I just hit the 4 angles basically. 0, 90, 180, 270. So I just kept doubling it. But it didn't do much. I'm just going to leave it at 0. So let's analyze this shot a little bit more. Let's make this bigger. Okay. It's looking great. I'm feeling this. This is actually pretty nice. It's a lot. It's very, man, it's kind of like stark, but also kind of grungy at the same time because it's like this old chess set. It feels like. I wonder if I can add some highlight here too. So I'm just like constantly analyzing like, okay, I'm at this step now. Like, what could I do next? What's the next thing I could add, you know? So maybe I could sit here and add highlights on the backside just to embellish the highlight that I have from the HDRI. So like now it's just additive stuff. So I just did that. But now I've just destroyed my lighting, right? So again, we're in 3D. We can cheat on a lot of things, right? So I can just turn off the diffuse, right? And now I've just embellished some highlights on the backside. And then I can go over here to scrim light still. And then where's my scrim options though? See nodes, feather it, right? And have a nice fall off on it. I can even add an accent, maybe like I can go 2500. And then I can turn down the brightness of this too, way down. So like 8, right? Just a subtle like, whoa, okay. So like there's something going on behind this camera. You know, what's beyond that? Is there someone like sitting at a fire or something and like talking or something? You know, just create a small story behind the image you're doing. And then let's see, stick that up there. Let's go back to let's see, what was that? Oh, it's color temperature. That's what I was going to do. So nodes, maybe I can turn it down lower. So 1500. Let's see what that looks like. That's too much. Let's go 2000. I like that. A little bit of orange to it. Okay. So yeah, like maybe it's like a story of like, you know, good and evil. Maybe, you know, you got this on the right side, it's like black and it's like sinister. And then on the on the left side, it's white purity, you know, coming in from the light, right? So it's a good contrast for the shot. it's just naturally built too. That's the funny part. This shot just naturally came together that I built, and just how much time. And I'm probably gonna render this now. So I'm probably at the point where I can just render this and play with it in post. Yeah. So I'm gonna hit. I'm just gonna save this, close it out. All right, and then here, and then we're gonna go into the chess set, scripting, and then just gonna make sure that I got stuff set right before I render. Open. Okay. And then set that. Blender. Actually, it's just one frame. Okay, so we'll do that. Set that. Delete that. Boom. Just call it template JPEG. Matter of fact, we'll just call it chess set underscore. Boom, like that. And put another underscore just in case we need to iterate. Just in case we make it an animation, you can always do that. And then we're gonna do the render settings, render config. Okay, set this to 32. I like to crank up my settings. People think I'm nuts for doing this, but I like to crank up my settings. We live in 2025. We got GPU cards now, and I'm running on a 4080 if you want to know. So yeah, and it's a simple shot on top of that. So I'm getting with the times. I'm just going to use these settings that we could not ever use in the past, and now we can because we got this power. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's let that render, run it. Now it's going to render. So now we got the After Effects file rendered out. Nice. This is 1920 by 1080. Okay, so let's turn on the default stuff I usually have in this file. And then, so I got sharpen, film grain, and some color correction. I'm going to turn off the sharpen. It's usually overdone, in my opinion, when I do these images. It's cool sometimes, it's not cool sometimes. I'm going to turn off the film grain. I'm going to leave that. Let's look at the film grain. So I'm going to go 100%, see what that looks like, if I like it for the shot. Film grain is always nice to add when you add noise to the image. It just gives it more life. Yeah, we'll keep it. I'm going to keep this film grain. I like adding texture to my images. And then exposure, lumetri. So let's see what it looks like on and off, like that. And then I also have to set my color profile. This is set up for AGX right now in After Effects. So I'm going to switch this over to Khronos. See Khronos, where are you at? There you are. So that's set to Khronos, and then also going to project settings, color, and then setting that to Khronos. Boom. So now we're working in the proper profile. And just before I forget, also set it here. AGX. I'm searching that, and then let's see. Make sure I got it right. Khronos PBR. Khronos. Let's see, what was it called? Let's see, Shift Control /, and then it's called Khronos JPEG Khronos. Okay, JPEG Khronos. So JPEG Khronos. So just make sure when I re-render stuff it comes out right out of After Effects, so I don't forget. All right, we can delete this. And then let's take a look. All right, so let's do some work. Let's do a little bit of work on this. Switch over here. So just so you know, to give you guys context, we are working in EXR. So that's why I'm doing all this color setup. If you guys don't know, EXR files render in a linear format. I can't show you the raw right now. Or I could do this actually. So this is the raw EXR. This is what it would look like without any kind of color management, right? This is how EXRs always render out. And in EXR files, they're 32-bit files, so you have so much range that you can play with. And the fact that this is in Blender 2, the EXR files have so much compression. So EXR files can sometimes be even smaller than a PNG file if you're using the right compression. So let's turn this back on. So we're going to apply the color profile. That's what I'm doing. And if you guys are wondering how to set this up, it's project settings, color, and then you want to do OCIO color management. So I loaded in the Blender color management. You can actually do that. And then I set it to AGX. And then I go down here and let's set it to linear rec 7092. Not 7092 as a number, just 709 as a color space. You can set it to sRGB, but rec 709 is like common for video. It has just a smidge of more contrast, but you could work in sRGB too. It's pretty similar, but I always just set it to rec 709 because I also like playing with video. And then the display color space, right, which is displaying to you, showing what's in front of you, is set to Khronos PBR so that we're seeing that also. And then another thing you have to do is the output. So we got the inputs all set up, but then when you output this stuff, right, such as rendering it, you got to make sure that it outputs in the proper format also. So like that's why I looked at the settings here, right? So I can do that again, Control-Shift/, and I can set this to my custom AGX. I got Aces also, or Khronos, right? So if I click on this, you also have to set up the color here, right, on this color tab. And I got that set up to Khronos too. So this is the output. So we talked about inputs, information coming into After Effects. So we have to make sure we do color management on the EXR. And then once we do what we need to do in After Effects, we also have to configure our output, which is Khronos too. So you have to keep those things in mind. It's kind of like for a lot of different things. If you ever deal with audio, video, that stuff always deals with input and output. How are things coming in and how are things are going out, right? It's all signal flow. That's what it is. Okay, so switching back to this, I want to take the brightness of it and just bring it up a little bit. This LUT, oh, so the other thing too, I have a LUT on top of this whole image. That's the other thing you saw in the color. So this LUT right here, that's what I'm using. I actually kind of like it. Again, it's like we're going for the cinematic mood, right? And I always have this one on by default. I could pull it back maybe a little bit. I'm gonna just leave it for now. And then I got a little bit of vignetting too. But I'm gonna take this, reset, turn off these keyframes on here, and then I'm just gonna brighten it up a little bit. So I could take the gamma to just kind of bring up the midtones a little bit, just like that. And then maybe see if I take the exposure down too. Okay. Yep, just like that. And then bring the gamma up a little bit more. So if I go crazy. So, but you guys can see like how much information is in these EXRs, right? The range that I could take it. So I can add so much more ambient light like I am right now. I like that right there. And then maybe bring this down some more again. Just trying to balance it out a little bit. So I like that. And then maybe add some curves. Maybe not. Let's see. Maybe I add some curves. So we'll try it. What am I thinking? I'll show you guys something though. So like the kind of EXRs, I'm using a multi-layer EXR, so I have all these render passes too. So as you saw here, right, I have access to all these render passes that came out of Blender. So I could do all kinds of stuff. So what I could do, let's say I need to just isolate something, right? So I can show you guys how to do that. Okay, so like I'm gonna isolate the concrete, right? I want to play with that concrete a little bit. Okay. So matter of fact, like this red, I don't want that red on there. So I'm gonna play with just the saturation of this concrete because we're supposed to be kind of neutral with everything. I do want to keep these highlights on the chest pieces. So what I'll do is I'm going to duplicate this layer, and then I'm going to press Control Shift C. And then now we're going to do a pre-compose, and I'm going to name it pre-comp, and then I'm going to call it concrete, right? Just so as I know what to reference. I'm going to move all the attributes, and then I'm going to hit also have that checkbox of new. And then now I'm going to go to my effects again, 3D channel, and then crypto matte, colors, right? So this is the crypto mats. So we have crypto mat set up. I always have the crypto mats render path set up. So now with the crypto mat effect selected, I can select anything in this scene. So I can select that, I can shift select so I can have two things selected, right? I can select these chess pieces, and then these right now are set up by object, if I remember. So now if I click on layer here, this layer area, I can also set up by material. Matter of fact, I can do by object too. So if I set this to object, right, hit OK. Now you see the colors change because the crypto mat is set to object mode. So now it's by the object. So now I can even get more granular in what I'm selecting, right? So these are great. Look, this is so fast just to set up a mat, right? So now the next step, right? So I'm going to set this back to crypto material and then hit OK. I'm going to select this concrete block. And then the next step you want to do is change the options here, the output, right? So we need to output the look of this crypto mat. So what I need to do is I need to make an alpha mat, some kind of selection mat, right? So I can change this to matte only, right? So we got different options, RGB, right? So there's another version of a cutout, and then I can say, okay, what does this actually look like? So it's on a cutout, right? That's great. Matter of fact, I didn't even know I had this option. So you can do an RGBA cutout, and then you could do that or that. Okay, so actually this option was not working before. I wonder if they fixed this or something, because this was not working. So I don't even have to do the whole pre-compose, because that's just, oh man, it's cumbersome to do that. All right, so let's try this now that I know that feature's there. So we'll just stop this, and then I'm gonna go back to the pre-comp. I'm gonna copy this layer and bring it back here, and then paste it, delete the pre-comp. Now I got this on its own because it does work on a transparent. Yep. Okay, so I got this isolated. So I can rename this concrete underscore block. Cool. Now with all that set up, I can go and do corrections on this by itself. So like, again, I just want to take saturation out of the block, right? Boom. So I just take the saturation just out of that block. So you see that subtle change? So all the red's gone. The red's just focused in this area, and that's what I want happening. Okay. That's so awesome. I didn't even know that was working now. So now it's like, man, I hated doing the pre-composing, but that was just the way you had to do it. So cool. So now I can do some more edits, right? So like, let's say I want to take the chessboard and make some edits to the chessboard. Okay, so now I can do that, duplicate it. I'm gonna call this chess underscore board. Boom. Just isolate so I can see what's happening, and then I'm gonna select something different. So I'm gonna set this to colors again, and delete this, right? And then I'm gonna switch this to object. Boom, like that. Okay, so I don't get like the sides of it or anything. That's okay. Let's just select the chessboard, and then we'll go RGBA. Boom, we got that set up. And then we'll turn on our layers again. Now that we got that set up, and then we got this isolated, right? So I can add like an exposure. So let's go exposure. And then I'm going to do it above the crypto mat too, because I always think of I don't know much you guys know about compositing, but there's something called pre-mult and unmult in compositing. And if you guys have ever dealt with issues where you have a selection mat and like the one pixel of edge all the way around is all messed up and you cannot get it exact, that's the reason. It's because you have to unmalt your your selection, and then, or you gotta unmalt and then pre-malt it. That's what you have to do. So basically what you're doing, because we have something called anti-aliasing, and so when you see, you got if you have aliasing, right? If you have just pure aliasing in an image, the transitions of pixels are going to be stair stepped. So if you have like a black and white circle coming together, right, they're going to be just stair stepped, right? Just black and then white only. But if you have anti-aliasing applied, that's what's creating that smooth look to it, to your pixels, right? So now you're going to have like the in-betweens to create that smooth transition, right? So what pre-malt and unmalt does, it makes it so that it's those solid pixels so that you can make those color corrections. And then I can't remember though, it's either unmalt first or pre-malt, but then you put the unmalt or pre-malt on to reapply your anti-aliasing. So if you guys don't know about that, look into that. There's some videos on it. That's how you solve that solution. I learned about that about 3 years ago. But it really helps. So that's why I like to put my exposure above my matte cutouts, so that I'm just color correcting the entire image and then it's applying the cutout. All right, so let's see. So I can play with the exposure. I could say, okay, let me just see what happens if I did something like this. It's probably a little crazy because I want to get some information out of this board right here, right on the side, because it's just, I mean, it's completely in shadow almost. So like that's what I'm looking at, is like, okay, how can I get this information on the side a little bit, right? Another thing I could do is look at render layers, right? So I could say, okay, what kind of render layers do I have? Like, do I have a normal pass? Maybe I could pull some information out of that. So like, let's see what we got here on the normal pass. So let's turn off this, turn off that. This is our normal pass. The blues are not too great. There's no green in this normal pass too, I'm noticing. Let's see what else we got. So you can like take a cheat in 3D, if you understand like compositing, is you could take render passes and do stuff outside of the box with them too to get information. So like this UV, right? Maybe I could get something out of that. Maybe. Nah, it's not gonna work. Maybe actually, thinking about it in my head. Let's look at other render passes. So we got some of that. Boom. What else? Environment, emit. There's nothing. Oh, there's background emitting. Let's see, diffuse. I might be able to pull some out of that. Okay, so I'll show you guys a cheat. Okay, so watch this. So we could take this right here. I'm gonna pre-compose this whole shot. So I'm gonna take this layer, Control Shift C, pre-comp, chessboard, move all attributes and open new composition. So we'll do that, right? And then we also have a crypto mat set up for this too, right? So now I can take this crypto mat, turn it on, got the cutout of the board, right? And then I'm also going to add a layer or a solid, and it's just going to be black. Okay, so I'm going to put this underneath like that. And then what I'm going to do now, because this point, right, this side, I'm keeping an eye on this side. It's pretty bright. So I could probably take my levels and edit this image to make it a luminance map or a luminance cutout. So I'm going to take this, delete it, and then I'm going to take color correction, levels, that underneath, and then now I'm going to crunch these levels. So let's move this over and then brighten this and then darken this way down. And then take that here. So maybe like that. So I got that to a pretty decent point. It's a little bit noisy, so I don't know if this is going to work. But it's decent. So now what I could do is I can add a mask. So I'm going to press P. No, not P. Pen tool. So I'm gonna cut this out. So I'm just gonna start here, cut to there, 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 like that, and then cut that. And then we're just gonna set it to subtract. So I'm gonna press M on the key where it says add. I'm gonna say subtract. Are we not doing anything? No, not gonna work. Am I doing something wrong? It should subtract away. I don't know why it's not working. Oh well. Okay, so I could take this, duplicate, put this on top, and then I can copy this mask here, paste it into here, delete this like that, and then I'm going to set the mask to add now instead. So add, there we go. So that's the result I wanted. I wanted this little piece, okay? So now I've made it a matte. It's a luminous matte. So I can go back to my original image, right? So this is the pre-comp, right? So we got this referenced in. If you guys are not familiar with pre-comps, they're just like references or smart objects where it's referencing another file. And then now I can put this down here, and then I can make another copy, and I can call that again chessboard side, just like that. And then now instead of me using a crypto matte, I could delete that, turn that off, and then I'm going to go over here to channel, set matte, and then I'm going to pick luminance, meaning blacks to whites. That's what it's looking at. It's not looking at the alpha channel. It's looking at the image itself. And then I'm going to pick that pre-comp. Okay. So now we've just cut out that side of the board. Okay. Now it's kind of washed out because that pre-comp is a little bit grayish, right? So we can brighten that up. So if I brighten it up, this in the image, it's going to get more opaque. Okay. But what I'm paying attention to is like these grains right here, and we can clean that up later if we want. So you can see it got a little bit more opaque, right? So what I could do now is, even though it's kind of transparent, I could still play with the brightness of it. So I can add an exposure like that, and then just turn it up, and I can brighten the sides of this up. See that? So now we've just been able to pull some information there and just brighten that up to read the definition of this board, right? Because right now, before was just like a black void, right? And this area right here, I don't need to really worry about like this shadow here, because the shadows are coming down in this direction. So it's like I accept the fact that this is like incomplete shadow, because even like these chess pieces, they're casting shadows down in that direction. But this side was bothering me because we had this face, you know, at a certain level, but this face was just in total darkness. So let's take it up a little bit more just to see where it goes. And we'll live with that. So we'll just live with that for now. Okay. So subtle, this is all like subtle post-production, you know, it's not crazy post-production where you just totally flip an image. Subtle stuff, subtle increments to your final result. So another thing we could do is we can either call this done, you know, I can call this image done, or I can say, okay, well, I can add like a little bit of like chromatic aberration, right? That's the whole thing about 3D artists, right? Chromatic aberration to try to get that realistic camera look, right? Or I could render it in camera too. I got another add-on in Blender to where I could just render it on in camera. But a cheat to do chromatic aberration, there's a way to do that. So you can take, do I really want to do this? It's going to take so many steps. Okay, so if you want to cheat chromatic aberration, if I remember how to even do this right, you got to copy the same image over 3 times, and then you got to separate the channels. Okay. So if you take this image, right, this is the main image, and I just copy it, right? I got that as a new comp. Okay. So we're in comp 2. I'm going to call this comp final, right? And then I'm referencing in the all the corrections we did, right? So I'm going to copy this 3 times, and then I'm going to keep a 4th one just as our control meaning like a point of reference. And then I'm going to set the channels of all of these. So I got to shift the channels. So I got to shift this to complete red. So if I go channel and then shift channels, I can set this all to red. No, that's not right. I turn these off. So I set this to full off. So now it's just a red channel, right? It's next. And then do the same thing on the next one. So channel, shift channels, and then I'm going to turn them full off. Now we got a green. And then I do this same thing for here. And then I go channel, shift channels, full off. And now we got a blue. So now if I set this to add, and then set this to add, now we got our image back. Okay. So all of these 3 layers are working together to create the final image because we separated the RGB. So if you remember, computers, monitors, screens, digital work in RGB, red, green, blue, 0 to 255 for each channel. And what I did, I separated all of that stuff out. So I made a separate red, separate green, separate blue, and then I pushed it back together. So we're just manually building it out. So I brought it all back together. So now what I could do is I can manipulate each channel on its own, right? So even if I just do that, right? I just shifted the top layer, right? So I can manipulate it, right? Same thing for the next one. I can manipulate that and so on. Okay. So that's how we could create manual RGB. So if I go to this top layer, right? And if you understand how chromatic aberration works, it's a distortion on a lens. So if you guys know how lenses are built, right? They're built with layers of glass, and the glass is kind of it has a shape to it, right? It's what's the word I'm looking for? It has a curve to it, right? The glass has a curve to it. There's multiple layers, and so light is coming through that and refracting through all that glass. And what do we know what glass does? It has refraction and it has prism in it, right? It has a color prism, right? Because light carries color in it, and so those colors can get split, very, very, very subtly through the glass, right? The more expensive the glass, the less chromatic aberration you have, because when they manufacture these lenses, they are actually trying to get rid of this stuff because it creates a cleaner image, and they want to avoid artifacts in their images, or they want photographers to be able to have no artifacts in their image that they have to correct. So when you have cheaper lenses, you're using cheaper glass. So what that means, your light spectrum splits more because you're using cheaper materials. So that's why chromatic aberration happens, is because the lens is cheap. It's not because it's happening on every single lens. It's just because it's dependent on the lens. Long explanation, but anyway. Okay, so let's get back to this. So distortion. See, mesh warp. We could do, what can we pick here? Let's try this lens one. CC lens. Let's see what that does. Okay, so CC lens. It looks weird at first, but we can scale it out if I remember right, and then push it out like that, right? So again, right, we went from a spherical shape, and then we're folding the lens outward, right, to give it that nice bowl shape, right? So then I'm just pushing it out as much as I can. I think that's it. That's the limit. That's all I could do. So that's overkill. All right, so we need to find a different solution. Let's try to find something else. So distortion. What else? I know I used one before. I just don't remember. Warp, maybe? Let's try that. All right, so warp. Bulge, maybe? Nah. Let's try in fisheye. Yeah. Okay. So that's been. There we go. All right. So we could do this. So now we can just go in 100%. This is not accurate chromatic aberration, by the way, too. Negative 0.5. Can we do that? Let's turn it off and on. Yep. See? So we just add a little bit of distortion, right, on those edges. Just very subtle. We don't have to go crazy. Remember, like, don't go crazy with this stuff. Just keep it very subtle. Very subtle. That's how you create stuff that's more realistic. Okay. So we got that in there. And then I'm going to call it good on this image. So I can hit save. I don't have to do anything else, honestly, in this file. So I hit save, and then I'm going to call this, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it sub template, because my script, it actually picks up these files that I call out. So to read template. So let's save that. And then let's go to that folder. Mail out 000. Boom. There it is. Template. And then open it up. See what it looks like. Sweet. There it is. So coming right out of After Effects again, you know, making sure we use color management properly. There's the image. So this is the final image. So it's a pretty fun little video we did today. Hopefully you guys like this. Got the grunge and stuff in it. I like how the noise like just pushes everything together as a nice image. I like that. Looks really nice. So cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed doing something like this again. More creative, not so technical this time. Yeah, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.